This month marked 30 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall, which expanded freedom to millions living under socialism. But recently, socialism has seen a resurgence among young Americans, with 70% of millennials saying they would vote for a socialist. In a new op-ed, our next guest says it's time to educate young people about the evils of socialism.
Fox News contributor and co-host of the new podcast, What the Hell is Going On? Marc Thiessen joins us now. Hey, Marc, why did you title it that?
Because everybody wants to know what the hell is going on. It's a perfect name for a podcast. We're all looking at the news wondering what the hell is going on. And we had a great episode. We talked to Ambassador Rick Grinnell in Germany, who I know is a good friend of this show, about what the hell is going on with the world since the fall of the Berlin Wall. And if you look at the data, almost every metric, the world has gotten better. So in 1989, there were just 51 democracies in the world. Today, there are 99. More than the number of people living in democracy has almost doubled since 1989. And of those living still in autocracy, 4 out of 5 live in China. So outside of with the exception of communist China, the entire world has become democratic. In 1989, a majority of people in the world, 52%, lived in extreme poverty on something like $1.25 a day. Today, the number of people in extreme poverty has been cut almost in half, and the Brookings Institution actually reported in September 2018, for the first time in 10,000 years since the start of agricultural civilization, the majority of the world is either middle class or wealthy. That is unbelievable. We've gone from a majority of extreme poverty to a majority of middle class or wealthy people in the world since the fall of socialism.
Very true, Marc. But to your point, just because you're democratic doesn't mean you can't be seduced by socialism if you don't educate people about where that comes from. Once everything's good around you, you can fall for those ideas. You mentioned Ambassador Grinnell in the conversation you had. Here's a clip of it.
Certainly not something that the younger generation should look at and pretend it was an easier time or a better time or a response to the overages of capitalism. And so I think it is up to us to tell these stories.
So, Marc, how do we tell these stories in public schools and elsewhere?
Yeah, well, we're telling it on our podcast, and you're telling it on this show. I mean, we've got to spread the word. If you look at almost any data, the literacy rates, the poverty rates, child mortality rates, everything has gotten better. And this is not because of foreign aid. It's not because of government. It's because of 2 factors. The collapse of socialism with the fall of... Keep in mind, we defeated 2 ideologies in the 20th century, Nazism and communism. Both were socialist. People forget the Nazis were national socialists. And then the communist socialist regime fell. And with that fall and the rise of democratic capitalism, the world has transformed. I mean, think about that. So the first time in 10,000 years, the world, for 10,000 years, people lived in abject poverty. That's the norm in human history. Only in this small sliver of 30 years have we gotten to the point where most people are living in middle class or above. That is because of capitalism, and the idea that we would now turn our backs on capitalism and embrace socialism is just insane.
Yeah, print out his article, give it to your kids, let them read about this, and so they can learn what socialism really looks like. Thank you so much, Marc. You can find his op-ed on foxnews.com.